when you speak is you say this: the best ability is availability. You got to be available. And so very simply put, Marcellus, I propose to you a blind resume, if we shall.
Let's do it.
We're going to look at Jimmy G on the left, and we're going to see another person on the right. And this person on the right will be revealed in due time.
Okay.
Jimmy G, 22-8, is a starter since week 13 of 2017. 30 starts out of a possible 45 games. Jimmy G has missed 33% of his games. What? The person on the right has missed 18%. Before we reveal the person on the right, let me use the adjectives you used to describe him.
Who?
Non-trustworthy.
Who?
Can't depend on him. Can't count on him. Always hurt.
Who that?
Never there in the big moments.
Who that?
So can we see who's on the right?
It must be Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz.
It's Wency.
He missed 8 games of the last 45. Jimmy G has missed 15. Jimmy G's on track, Marcellus, to not return for another 6 weeks. So Jimmy G would have missed, what, 21 games out of a possible 51. And yet we don't talk about his lack of availability. Hurt New England in 2016. Hurt second year in San Francisco. Hurt again this year. All I got to say is if the best ability is, in fact, availability, like Marcellus Wiley has told me, then there's a tremendous other reason and motivation to move on from Jimmy G.
You ain't leave me no room in there. You ain't save me no ribs. Oh, my God. You covered a lot of ground there. I got to give you credit. And let me add to some of the fuel that you just went out there and spat at me before I start to combat it. All right. 2 of his 3 seasons as a 49er, he has been injured. That's a problem, right? You got to talk about the availability. His cap number, goodness. Jimmy G, the money is telling them to get rid of you. 26.9 cap number next year versus 2.8 dead money. For all those who don't understand that, basically, if he stays, he's going to cost $27 million. If he leaves, it's only going to cost him $2.8 million. Woo! I don't care how fresh the purse is, my wife, how much it costs. Before we even get into the fresh conversation, we say, how much? And if I can save $25 million, how much, Jimmy G? The incentives are to get rid of you. Now, let me support Jimmy G because a lot of attention is on Jimmy G, and we forget. Let's just look at the organization as a whole, because I don't have a blind resume. I got a resume you're going to see live and in person, and I'm going to call out their coach later. Let's talk about the organization right now. How dare you let this oxygen be within your walls talking blasphemous about the Jimmy GQ. Jimmy GQ goes to an organization that was 2-14 before he got there the year prior, right? With your guy, with my guy who recruited me at Columbia, Chip Kelly. All right, 2-14. And then what happens the next year? Do you remember how it started? Because Kyle Shanahan's in his first year. This offensive guru, offensive mind, this genius of a coach, right? You know how they started off?
Terrible.
1-10. Hello, you know what they were writing up there in the Bay? Did we do the right thing? This is not working. And then a plane lands from Foxborough. And that pretty boy, Jimmy GQ, came off that plane and said, I will play for the 49ers, and I won't lose a game. And they didn't lose another game that year. And then he gets paid. Then the injuries come. Then he signs the big deal. That incentivizes them after a couple years to get rid of him. All I'm saying with this is, before we even get into Kyle Shanahan versus Jimmy GQ, how can you let him go? You couldn't win games without him. He literally won more games in that compromised short season, 5-0, than they had in the 2 years prior. So now you're going to blame Jimmy GQ? Hell no, big dog. We can't go there. All right, now we're joined by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. Greg, should the 49ers move on from Jimmy G? Blasphemy, right?
Absolutely. Like Acho said, in their minds, they've already moved on. When you consider bringing in a Tom Brady last year, you're already moving on. You're already saying, I'm not sure if this is my guy moving forward. So check it. This is his 7th year in the National Football League, his 4th year with the 49ers, as Acho said, and I was going to touch this point, but I don't have to. The best ability is availability. He is not available consistently, and when he is, his attention to detail pre-snap is frustrating to watch. You become enamored with the great play. He is a good quarterback when he is good, but there are 2 unknown factors, too many inconsistencies that bring him down to earth and makes me say, this guy is just average. Because you watch him play and he makes some baffling decisions pre-snap. You're going to a 2-receiver side when you got 3 DBs over the top, when you should be reading the other side of the field. Things like that, when a player is in his 7th year and he's been tutelaged under Tom Brady and Belichick.
Talk about it.
I can't say I can just look at that and just miss myself with it. No, that jumps out of the page, and it's frustrating not only for me as a former player, but the guys who are on his team. And one last note I'll say. He doesn't even exude the swag that is on
we went swag.
just that offensive side of the ball.
Brady got swag?
Hear me on this one.
What's swag?
When you look at George Kittle, he plays with an edge. He plays with the swag. Everything about him is like, I got it. You look at Deebo Samuel, the same type of thing. You look at Mostert and all these guys. It's like, you even look at their head coach, Kyle Shanahan. He has a swag. He has an aura about him. Jimmy G has none of that. He has none of that.
I'm with you.
If you don't have anything to offer me but a bunch of inconsistencies, you know what? I believe you are what you've shown me, and that's inconsistent. Let me just wipe my hands clean of it.
What are we doing? We trying to get a Super Bowl winning team, or are we trying to get a high school dressing contest? Talking about swag. What the hell does that have to do with performance? I don't even want to hear it. Talking about Kyle Shanahan has swag?
It has everything to do with performance. I'm going to need you to play with some level of confidence.
Oh, really? So in my first year as a full-time starter, taking a team that had won only 2 games a couple years ago and only 1 game without me, now all of a sudden I need to show you swag? How about I show you this winning? And that's what he's done for the 49ers.
Who were those teams that he won against?
What do you mean?
Okay, we're not going to address that.
What do you mean won against? What do you mean, his schedule? I'm talking about who he won with. Let me get to the point, because we have gone off on high school tangents, talking about swag and how you look and all that. It's about the meat and potatoes, how you perform. And I'm not going to let you Shanahan apologists get up here and have some revisionist history about Jimmy G and what he's done to resurrect the San Francisco 49ers. So I am going to have to give you a full screen to let you know and illustrate what I understand about Kyle Shanahan, who is 27-29 overall as a head coach. Just under 500. So he's a losing head coach. And that's with Jimmy G. Jimmy G helps Kyle Shanahan because he's 22-8 with him as his starter. But since he has so much swag, Kyle Shanahan, since Kyle Shanahan is such an offensive-minded guru, I wonder what he's like without Jimmy G. What the hell? 5-21 with any other quarterback that ain't named Jimmy GQ. Take the full screen away. All you apologists, all you Shanahan lovers have not realized that Jimmy GQ has made Kyle Shanahan. You want to think that Jimmy G's grow on trees and you're going to go out there with a Nick Mullins, C.J. Beathard, Brian Hoyer, or worse, go out there in the free agency market. Go find you somebody else that you think is going to come and give you that same win percentage. Jimmy G is the one making this situation go, brother. They dressed him up properly with a great defense that let him down in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl with a 10-point lead. How you got the number 2 defense and they give up 10 points in the 4th quarter? That's not on Jimmy G. Yeah, he could have made a couple plays. Of course that. But at the same time, if I'm up 10 in the 4th in the Super Bowl with the number 2 defense, that should be curtains. So Kyle Shanahan, you better thank Jimmy GQ, as Jimmy GQ should say, hey, I started this winning, and these are the thanks I get. Hello.
Here's the problem with that full screen, and I love that take, Marcellus. Hey, G, you had Marcellus back against the ropes, and so he just came out throwing a fury, as many punches as he could throw. Problem is, we bobbed and weave all of them, Sal. Can we bring Marcellus's full screen back up, please? Can we just take a look at it? The problem with that, Marcellus, is the selection bias, which you were cognitively ignoring. With Jimmy G, he's 22-8. But what you don't see there is the number that's hidden, the number in parentheses.
What's hidden?
The 15 games that he has missed. Okay. Marcellus, he could have played 45 games. He's missed 15. I don't need the full screen. My point is very simple.
That's in the top layer. That's in 27-29.
Marcellus,
you play